How's it going, everyone? This is Anon. This is not financial advice. This is just for entertainment purposes only. I'm going to be going over Aterian today and kind of the rest of the markets, kind of explaining what was going on, and we will go ahead and get everything started and answer some questions if anyone has any, and do our normal thing where we just kind of, oh, Tanner got first. Just Investor, Tom. I don't know. I mean, what shows up on the chat first? Oh, wait, never mind. Drake was first. Looks like Drake is the top of my chart. So, looks like Drake got it, then Craig, Tanner, Just Investor, Tom. What's up, guys? All right. Good evening. Ellen's favorite username checking in. Conky Dong. That is a pretty good one. It's like my old kickball team. We had a couple of guys. There were some funny names with those kickball teams. The way today the market died and we killed it. Well, I don't know if we killed it, but we didn't end up going down as much as the market as far as I'm concerned. As far, like normally when the overall market bleeds that much, Aterian would be down like 10%, and we did not. We kind of held around the 350 mark. Obviously we went down at one point in the afternoon, but overall it could have been a lot worse. So I mean, there were some stocks that really got just hammered. What's up, Mr. Hannon? Thanks for the streams, bro. I learned a lot from you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Tom. Rough day. We survived it. The Gannon chain at 5 is still intact. Yeah, I mean, at this point right now, 10 is probably not realistic. 750 is R50, but the one at 5 is going to be the one that's going to probably be the most realistic if we're hanging around here. And we'll go over that because obviously. It's frustrating because I'm looking at this and I'm going, they're not hedging. Like, they're not properly delta hedging. But at the same time, when the overall market's, losing 4% on the S&P, it's hard to be like, yeah, well, we're going to see very soon tomorrow probably if, and when everything's going to go and get hedged. But this is why I've been kind of stressing that I've been watching the stock for a long time, and when I was saying like the 1s and the 2s are probably the safest ones, everyone rolls their eyes. They buy the 350s and the 4s and the 5s, and what happens each and every week? Like, aim for max pain, and max pain is probably around like 3 to 350 for retail, so that's where we typically end up. Oh, good, Keith. You talked to them also. I actually talked to Aterian as well today, so he must have been busy. Yeah, 1.9 trillion reverse repo, all-time high. I mean, if anyone knows what reverse repo is, it's basically they're like storing cash. They're basically, pocketing cash and storing it with the Fed. I sent you a pic with some recent data in Discord. All right, let me pull that up too. I don't have my Discord up. Hold on a second. Yeah, we just need 1 or 2 Ivy spikes, and then we'll be back on track. That'll be good. All right, fish is sent off. All right, oops. Yeah, make it big. Okay. Guess that's it right there. All right. so still a ton of calls coming in. Still way more calls than puts. Looks like biggest increase in open interest was at 4. Right? Looks like there's a bunch of stuff that got rolled over to next week for $4 calls as well. Right? And then, what is that? 20th. $15 calls. Someone bought a bunch of those. Alright. So, I'm just taking a look at his Bloomberg information. That's good. Yeah, so the in the money and near the monies have started gaining some OI, which is always a good thing. So, we like to see that. All right, so we'll go over the options chains. I mean, that is an options chains, but we'll go over the one so we can kind of take a look together. Here, let's pull up. Okay. Sorry, I just had to ban a bot in the Discord. All right, so we'll go ahead and I need to go. We're pulling up the options chains. I've got to also make sure that we do what we're supposed to do, which is I'm supposed to announce to Discord that we are live and talking, and then also we're supposed to be doing a tweet because I don't ever do that enough apparently. So make sure that we get as many people in here that can, that want to hear at least what's going on. If you can slap the like button, if that's possible, that'd be great. That way we get the YouTube algorithms. Alright. So, we'll say ATER, live stream. I don't know. What do you put it like? Okay. So, look. There, I tweeted it, and I at everyone's in the Discord. Okay, there we go. So let's take a look at the options chains now. What's taking so long here? All right. Here we go. Two days from OPEX. Let's go ahead, pull it up. Yeah, so I noticed obviously we had someone in our Discord that bought up some $2 calls, good amount of them. And I think wasn't what was his name? The guy yesterday, didn't he also buy $2 calls? And they weren't he didn't think they were showing up. I don't know if we ever got that. Ben, right? Was that the guy's name? Yeah, Fish. Thanks for sending over these Bloomberg screenshots. It's always good to get the newest and best information from every source that we can, because obviously, something we lack as retail is information to the good stuff. So that's very helpful. You know, I can't afford a Bloomberg, obviously. So that's a good thing for us. All right. Where is... All right, here's the options chains. And let me just post it over here for you guys so you can see it. Here we go. Just putting the colors in right now. All right. Let's do this. Let's go over it real quick. So, this is where we are right now. So we fell below the 350, not by much. I think we finished what, like what was it? Let me get this down to 346 at close, and I think after hours we went to 341. But all right, we also got hammered on earnings after hours for a bunch of things on the market. Like I think what was it? Cisco got hammered for earnings, and so yeah, I mean this is just like the timing on the market just falling completely apart is, not great. Because the largest OPEX that we had this amount of open interest is getting basically, hammered down by the entire market falling apart. It's just like if you look at some of the other stocks, none of them had like a gamma ramp like we did. And yet, it's just coincidence, honestly. Like, because we're not big enough, we're not a big enough stock where this would have been like the reason why the entire market would have fallen apart. So it's just really bad luck, basically. But in the meantime, what we can do is we can kind of at least analyze and look at what's still there and what makes sense. Excuse me. All right. So we got the options chains up now. But yeah, we held our ground. The market was basically the problem. Like you could literally, like I don't have the pictures here, but on my work computer, I saved screenshots. And actually, I think I posted them in this chat, so maybe I could pull them up here by searching my own name. So I search my own name and look back. I could probably save a couple of these. All right. So for example, like here's the IWM. So IWM is small cap, Russell small caps. Or sorry, I guess this one's BlackRock. But yeah, like hidden lows right there, right? So if you look, like every time that they went down, we went down. Like you can, it's like literally like a mirror image. So we're just getting brought down by the overall market. So that was IWM. I think I had some screenshots also of the SPY. Same thing. Like every time the SPY would take a leg down, we would take a leg down. And it's just like super unfortunate. Here's the SPY, right? So SPY's bleeding, we're bleeding. Like, it's just algos, and it's disappointing because, like, this is a, the week's not over yet. Like, there's still a shot, but I'm just saying, like, this was like a really bad day on the market. Like, I heard this was actually the worst day in 2 years for the market. So it's been 2 years since we've had a day this bad, and it happened to fall on a very important Wednesday for us. Because obviously this would have been a day where we probably would have started to see the MACD and everything cross over. I think I was showing you guys yesterday that the MACD was already curling up. It's flattening, which is fine, but like it was literally curling up, and we would have probably crossed over tomorrow. And then we probably would have had some bullish action into Friday, and the stock would have been much, much higher. But the entire market bleeding off, it basically just flattened it. So we're still here, and we still have another day or two to cross over. But, if you look at the stochastic, same thing. Like, but we just got hammered down. Like, that's what it was. Like, if you look at here, you can tell. Like, it was starting to come up, and then it just flattened out. So, all right. So, back to the options chains. All right, where did I put it? Okay. So, green is in the money. Green is in the money for them, right? So, you'll notice they have all these really, really deep in the money. Some of these are actually sold puts, meaning they're bullish, but there's a good amount of like in the money puts. So what they're doing is basically they've been able to push it down using some of these deep in the money puts. And you'll notice, like, I mean, they're literally just like stacking some of the highest ones just to make sure that the stock remains down. So even though we have a ton of stuff here, make sure you understand and realize that they're basically buying like the highest in the money ones that make sure that the stock's getting pushed down. And these, every share that they're buying is being used to push the stock down. On the put side, at least the deep in the money ones. So the biggest thing's going to be as this starts growing, because these 350s will be crucial if we're going to be moving up, but so will actually these like deeper in the money ones. So things that have like, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. I'm going to pull it over here real quick so I can just take a look and make sure I'm not showing any information we don't need. But for example, I want to see all the options. Let's see. Do they have the probabilities on this? They don't. They probably don't have it because it's not live right now. But like, let's see if I can show here. Okay. So like the delta right now on these twos is like 92%. Interestingly enough, the 250s are actually 94%. And the threes are 80, but these 350s are only a 50-50 shot at being in the money according to Thinkorswim. So the ones that have 100% delta are these, the 50 cent, the $1, and the 150s. Here, I can do. I have to screenshot it, but I will do this for you guys real quick. I'll put the chart back up. All right, here we go. So. So I'll pull over these options for you so you can see what I'm talking about. Hopefully you guys can see this. Need to probably adjust it around a little bit. You guys are going to just have to let me know if you can see. So right now, if you look at the delta on these, so these $2 have like a 92 delta, 94 delta for whatever reason for the 250s, and then the $3 are 80, and then these 350s are at 50. So like, you'll notice though on the delta on the puts, like pretty much all these are 100% for the most part, and then these are the coin flip for the 350s right now, whether or not there's going to be, and the 4s right now have an 80%. So I mean, we're going to see how this all goes, but when we're looking at the options chains, you'll notice right here that like these are, what did I say these were? The delta on those was 92. So the delta on the 2s is 92, and these are 94 for whatever, 0.94 for the delta. Now, what I'm curious about is going to be, if we see more of these getting stacked and near the money, you may see a slight price movement because of that. Because basically if retailers said, okay, these are probably unrealistic, and they start concentrating down here, then you're going to see at least more like pressured. They'd have to keep the pressure on by buying deep in the money ones or shorting or whatever. But today they didn't even need to probably short that much. I'll check the short data just to make sure. But I mean, I would imagine they probably didn't have to short a whole ton because the entire market was just selling off. Let's see. So we'll pull up Fintel real quick and let's take a look and see how because the aggregate should be out by now, right? Let's see if the aggregate short volume's out at this point. Yeah, so they only have like 35,000 shares. They borrowed a bunch again. And yeah, if you look, they only shorted 40% today because the entire market was just bleeding off. They didn't need to short it. I mean, they still shorted it, but they didn't need to short it that much. Let's see. Yeah, so, I mean, we had very little volume today. I think, the only people that are in it right now are people who are buying and holding Aterian, and obviously the shorts and the market makers. So that's the only people that are trading this stock right now. You don't have new money coming in at this point right now, which it'd be nice to have. If there was some way of figuring out how to show other retail investors, what's going on here. I mean, like that gamma ramp is juicy, but like unless people come in, with a large, amount of money, it's, and if the market stays bad, then it's like it's fighting uphill. Like we're fighting an uphill battle, and it's going to be tough. So, I'm not by any means bearish on this. I'm just trying to be realistic, which is when the entire market is having the worst day it's had in 2 years, when you're in the middle of a gamma squeeze, it's not very good for this the gamma squeeze, because everything's fighting against you. Like every algorithm, even like the ETFs are selling off. Like they're short, and they're still 40% short, daily volume. So, I mean, it's a combination of pretty much everything. But we're also getting low volume on the stock because whenever things are red, people are scared to buy. So, all right. So what's the point of buying deep out of the money calls? Matt, so the only reason why people sometimes buy deep out of the money calls would be basically for the IV spike is my guess, or they're just being really unrealistic and they're cheap. So they're like, I'll buy some lottery tickets. But there's a reason why they're cheap. So, My biggest debate for me was deciding bullish positions, buy deep in the money calls to help the gain ramp, or sell cash secure puts at $4. Went with puts because the IV makes profit. Yeah, I mean that's. I sold a couple fours as well. We'll see, Tanner, if that pays out for us, but I did the same thing. I didn't do a ton of them, but I did a good amount. What's up, Aloha Vibes? Yeah, they're just being it's lotto tickets, or they're trying to play IV spikes, because if the stock runs up, even though they know it's never going to hit 22, they could still make some money based off of if they bought them cheap and then this IV spike, happens, they can sell out and then sell it to somebody else that probably doesn't understand what they're buying. What's up, Overminding? All right. I believe in the play, but at the same time, my portfolio has been getting destroyed. How much longer can I stay with this? Well, here's the thing, Philip. So if you're looking at this from a long, and I don't know what you're playing. Hopefully you have commons too, because if you're playing only options, then that's going to be very, very, stressful and also dangerous, because you only have 2 days left if you're playing weekly options on this. But yeah, if it's long term, then you should be fine, because Aterian, I did have a conversation with Aterian today, the investor relations, and they do, they really are believing that they can weather the storm. They do have enough cash. I was talking to them about that. I also talked to them, interestingly enough, about different ideas. I said, obviously you guys, the shipping thing has kind of really screwed you guys up. You're completely dependent right now on China, and he was basically saying that they have already started looking into new product lines, and what they would do is, instead of relocating all their different factories and everything, when they release a new product line, they'd be looking for that product line to be produced outside of China. So I thought that made a lot of sense, but he's like, unfortunately, because where we are right now, we're not releasing new product lines, so we're still dependent on them. But he's like, the one nice thing is they're not out of the one shipping port that got shut down. They based theirs out of like Shenzhen or something like that. But I was going to say, if you have commons, as long as you're patient and you're able to average down when this thing dips, you should be fine, because you'll have you'll have a lower cost basis by the time this thing. And this is one of those things. So look at this. Or just like a couple days ago, feels like days ago, we hit this all-time low right before we ran up. All right, so we hit the fourth quarter, right, and then boom, we hit our first quarter right here, but the fourth quarter hit, and then they dropped it all the way down to like 210, I think it was the absolute lowest, and then we bounced right off of it and then headed back up. But then just literally a couple weeks later, out of the blue, we made a run. And so we went on a reg show during this time frame, and then what we're going to find out is, since the stock keeps going down, dipping down, and keeps being held down here, the longer that, it's down here, and I know people don't like this, but, this is where they accumulate. Like if you look at a Wyckoff, when they do Wyckoff distribution and Wyckoff accumulation, they have to keep it down here at a low level so they can accumulate shares over time, and then when they want it to run, they let it run. And so if you actually look at the Wyckoff on accumulation, that's how it works. Yeah, so let's see. So if this doesn't see sizable gains before September dilution, do you still planning on staying? Yeah, I'm not going to take a loss on this one, but I will say, like, obviously in this case, what I'm seeing is this. I think at some point it's unrealistic to think that the shipping containers are going to remain at 6x prices forever. And when those come down, then Aterian will have some better quarters. And once those quarters start stacking up, then the shorts basically thesis is toast, because like if you actually look at where we are, look, we're sitting here at $3 a share. Like, they're not going out of business. They have plenty of cash, so they don't need anything at this point. They can just exist. And as long as they are existing, they have the chance of surprising and then having more institutional ownership buy back in, especially when they're at these cheap levels. So, So deep in the money calls, when exercised, go directly into the lit exchange where shares are bought and routed. Hold on. Deep in the money calls, exercise, go directly into a lit exchange where the shares are routed into dark pools and never see the lit exchange. Not exactly. So it depends. So if they need the shares, Billy, what you'll typically find from them is they may have to actually run out and grab those if they need to hedge. So they actually will go ahead and buy them on the lit exchange at times. Here we go. Stocks are down. Yep. The entire market. So it's not just Aterian. Like, here's the problem. Like, when you're invested in like one main stock, right? You better understand and look, this is the S&P right now. The S&P is absolutely just bleeding. Like, this is a bad day. And we've had some bad days. This was the worst day in 2 years. So, like, you have to put it in perspective. Like, that's the SPY. Look at IWM. Like, everybody's bleeding. Everybody's having a really bad day. It's not just Aterian. So if you put that in perspective, the S&P dropped 4%, and so did we dropped basically 5%. Like, we're on par with where the entire market is right now. So just keep that in perspective. Amazon lost 7% today. Many other retailers, but we held up okay. Yeah, and we did. Like, I mean, it's all perspective, but obviously if you're holding options, you're getting theta decay really badly. So it looks worse than it actually is. So, what we need to find out now is if they do have, these deep in the money, like $2 and stuff, like if that stuff starts actually getting hedged, then what will happen is it will go through and it will start climbing, because they will have to eventually start hedging those. If they, if they're not going to be able to burn them out, then they're going to have to start hedging them. All right. Any thoughts to why Ortex is showing 2 million return, 2 million borrowed? It seems like a trend now. Yeah, they're basically allowing, they're shorting it down, and then they're returning the shares in the same day, Laura. So the reason why you would do that is this. You shake the tree and you scare the crap out of retail, and then you get retail to sell. And so what eventually will happen is if you're able to shake the tree multiple times, it shakes retail's confidence, and then they can get retail to sell out, and then they just return those same shares that they used to, shake the tree. So, it's really no harm, no foul, but they may have shaken out a couple 100,000 or maybe 1 million. Who knows how many shares they shook out today. Let's see. I bought more in the money calls for 2 and 3, considering the market slide. The price is as good as expected. Yeah, exactly, Hustle. All right, so with this being such a low float, could the market makers wait until Friday to catch shorts off guard and then FOMO the stock up? It would catch a shorts off guard, because if they didn't hedge, it would be more the market makers that would do that. Yeah, the market makers really want to keep this price down, because that's where they make the most money. So you have to view it like this. All right, so I'll bring this back over. Oops. Look how much open interest is here, and hopefully you can see it, but look how much open interest at this point right now is burned out. And some of these people bought these things weeks and weeks ago, so that these things might have been $20 a share, or sorry, $20 a contract, even higher, right? So they have now taken, and look how many shares this is worth. Like, this is 2 million, this is 2 million, this is 2 million. Like, somebody had built a nice little gamma ramp, which is also why it's like, okay, then was it retail that did this? Was it there was a good amount of open interest here. So, I mean, obviously somebody wants to take advantage of that, but if this was all retail, then yeah, maybe they're just burning it all out, because, at this point right now, all it would take is a couple large institutions to slap the ask, and like the stock would fly, because all the market maker would have to start scrambling. But the problem is right now everyone's so afraid of putting money into the market. Like with everything bleeding, like unless somebody was like, okay, we're going to go ahead and just like squeeze the crap out of Aterian, and slap the ask and stack a bunch of like, if they bought like, for example, like at this point right now, a couple $100,000 worth of like in the money stuff, and then just started slapping the ask, this market maker would have to scramble to start hedging. But once again, that's not common. Like you don't just have, millions and millions of dollars laying around and people that are willing to like squeeze out a, fellow hedge fund. I mean, that's the one thing that most people don't understand. Most of these institutions that bought in, they're in it now because they're looking at Aterian long. And they're fine, lending out their shares to make some, guaranteed money during this time of uncertainty. So, all right. So G-Man says when the sell programs algos hit Aterian, they always use the options chains versus actually selling real shares that don't exist anyway to control the price. So they actually do a combination of all of them. Like, so you have to remember some of these institutions are, they have shares, they have puts, and they have calls. So they have all the mixture of them, right? So there's multiple ways that they can use those in combination to drop or raise a stock. And, obviously there's a bunch of people in this that are, just, going up, down, whatever way they want. So all of retail got hammered. Aterian actually looks pretty good compared to a lot of stocks. Yeah, that's true. That is right, Hustle. All right. Is May 20th gamma unrealistic now? No, I mean, it's still there. It just won't be probably as high. It's probably not running to like 20 unless we get somebody that just sits on the stock and just keeps buying it. So, but once again, I've seen crazier things happen. So yes, it could happen. It's just right now it's, it's not at those. If you look at the probability on, for example, the probability on a 22 right now is basically 1%. Like all this stuff up here is basically like 3%, 2%. Like you have very, very low odds right now of these being in the money. We are gaining a lot of attention on social media lately. A month ago, I was lucky to find 10 YouTubes about Aterian. Now there's about 1,000. Yeah, I mean, it's growing. And so here's the thing. Like this week is going to be disappointing for a lot of people because they were playing options. And, if you have common shares, the reason why I had said, not financial advice, but like the reason why I like deep in the money is because you can always turn those into shares long term and be profitable on them. If you buy a $5 or a $7.50, call and it doesn't hit, you're screwed. Like there's no going back for that. So like you could at least exercise your calls and still, down the line be profitable on them. You don't get to do that if you buy out of the money. So, all right. So any thoughts on this executive order that's supposed to hit June? You've read about. Yeah. So basically what it's saying it is that I guess Trump during his presidency signed something that was back in like January of like 2021, and it coincided with the market kind of like falling apart briefly when GameStop was running up. And it's because apparently they weren't allowing Chinese collateral to be used, which all of a sudden put a bunch of people at margin risk. And that's going again. I guess Biden continued that, and they gave them till like I think June of 2022 to get all their ducks in a row. And who knows if they did or not. But if that does happen, then typically you could see margin calls starting to happen if they can't use that collateral and they didn't find another suitable, thing, which is also probably why, if you noticed everything crashed altogether, they're probably hoarding some cash on them to make sure they have the money to do whatever they need to do. in this next coming weeks. Thanks for streaming, Daddy. Yeah, I mean, once again, that's why shares are the safest things you can have, because there's no theta element. Obviously, second quarter earnings are going to be a bloodbath, is what he said. Well, I mean, we'll see. Actually, I think second quarter earnings, they did decently in the past, so we will find out. What are the chances that Aterian pops out with some sort of news soon? So I talked to them, and they basically were like, listen, if you look at our, we're not like some of these other companies. Like, we only release things when there's, relevant information. We don't just, release PR to release PR. He's like, if you look at our track record, we'll release things if there's a new product or a new, something that comes out, or, for example, if we have a new board member or something like that, that's when we release news. He's like, if we don't have anything to say, we're not going to just release news to release news. He's like, and if you can go back in our history, that's been exactly the case. And I explained that, obviously retail would like to hear from you guys. And he's like, that's understandable, but at this point right now, we've told people during earnings that we're just kind of trying to weather the storm. At this point right now, we're not doing any mergers and acquisitions. We're just trying to make sure we have enough cash to last us through. So I don't think we're going to get a ton of news there. I did ask him about the naked shorting and the investigation that's ongoing. And he told me that obviously he can't talk about that, but he said that if you have seen the HBO special Gaming Wall Street, the same firm, I guess, is one of the firms that's being used to investigate what's going on with Aterian. So, all right. Hey, Anon, holding shares for over a year now. Managed to average down, going long. Appreciate all the DD in the videos. Thanks, Lemon. What's up, Goat? I bought 11 shares today at $3.30. You can thank me for the price going back up. Thank you so much, Goat. Can shorts hold on till September, in your opinion? It all depends. So, for example, if Aterian keeps hanging around, right? So let's zoom out for a second. I think it's better do on Weeble. Let me do Weeble real quick. All right. So let's take a look at where we are and where September is, right? So here is September 6th. That is the day that they have access. So this is a daily, right? So that's a long ways away. You still have another second quarter earning and a third quarter earning probably before then. Let me go back and just see when the other earnings were. So this is first quarter, fourth quarter, third quarter, right? Third quarter happened on the 8th of November. So it would be one. This would be then, so first, fourth, third, second. So second quarter happens around August. So we would have at least one more earnings during that. And we have the potential for, any number of catalysts to happen. But one of them is, so retail, at this point right now, I would say probably 99% of retail has not DRS'd their shares. They have not tried to remove them from the DTCC system. And that may be a Hail Mary like GameStop is doing, but it's not unreasonable. This is not financial advice. Nobody has to do this. But what I'm saying is it's not a horrible idea to have the shares in your own name and then kind of reducing down the float, because you're basically removing shares away from the free float. So there's a couple more things that can really happen. And, so do we need to wait for the market to recover for Aterian to move up? No, here's the thing. We moved up when the market was moving down here. It's just this had volume, and we don't have volume right now. There was, actual people, FOMOing in, and then at this point right now, we haven't had volume really since, I would say, beginning of May. We've had a couple decent days where it was like 10, 12 million, but like on a day like today where we traded, less than 6 million, yeah, that's just not going to get the job done at this point. And I know the entire market was bleeding off. And here's the thing, like most of the retail that's already in is just holding. They don't have a ton of extra ammo. So what this is going to need is it's going to need fresh eyes and fresh money to kind of come in. And that can happen because the more and more research that we do, we're still getting numbers right now. And the reason why I didn't put out a DD today was because when I talked to Aterian, I confirmed with them what I was suspected, which is we don't have all the final numbers. In fact, they don't have the final numbers. He is still going through. There were still 13Fs coming in. He said he had a bunch of 13Fs on his desk that he hasn't gotten through and got updated. So we don't even have the entire picture at this point, where we're sitting at least. Okay. Fintel says there's 100K to borrow. Let's see. As of 5 hours ago, Fintel's telling me that we have 35,000. So. What's the biggest you have ever lost in terms of amount of money on an option play? It was very high. Let's see. If you direct register, let's see. If you direct register your shares, do you have access to them to sell when you want? No, you have to trade, and that's the thing. And that's the reason why most retail hasn't done it, is because unlike computer share, Philadelphia stock transfer, you have to transfer it back to your broker. So that's the reason, Greg, why so many people have not done it, because in this case, it's an extra step to be able to get your shares back and then sell them, because they don't allow you to sell directly through them. You have to transfer them back into your brokerage and then trade from there. But if you think that the stock is undervalued and will move up, and you're not willing to sell down at 3, why not DRS your shares, and then when it runs up higher, then you can always pull them out and put them back in the brokerage. But I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just saying, I DRS'd my shares long ago, the majority of my shares, and they're just sitting there, and I can't sell them and I can't do anything with them, but at least I removed them from the system, because now let's see. Make a video how to DRS your shares. It's simple when people are spoon-fed it. Yeah, I mean, we can do that probably. If he still has 13Fs, doesn't that mean the free float is lower than we think? It could be. Fish, it could be. It just means to me that they have, nobody has final numbers. Because 13Fs can also show, though, that people have sold, people bought. We don't have the final numbers at this point right now. So that's all that means. All right. Yeah, you do have to sell them or bring them back into your brokerage account. And I get that you don't do videos, but it's because you can't edit. I could always edit for you. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't typically have time. I mean, I barely have enough time to do this too. My day, I wake up at usually 6 something, and then I'm with my kids and give them breakfast, and then I go to work all day long, from basically 8:30 to 5, and then I go and drive and pick up my kids, and by the time I get back to the house, we have dinner, and then I give them a bath, and then read them books, and then I come down here, and then I talk to you guys until basically 11 o'clock or midnight, depending on what night it is, and then I go to bed. So I don't really have a ton of time, especially when I'm busy at work. There's just not enough time of the day for me to make videos and kind of it's probably like I probably need to. Maybe I should not do a live stream one night and just work on video editing and trying to put out a video which explains what's going on here, and maybe that gets circulated around and it makes sense to people and brings more people in. But let's see. Yeah. So. Yeah, a bunch of people, it sounds like they're good with editing. So, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I don't know why it's, it shouldn't be all on one person or even a couple people to do all this stuff. Like, if you guys want to make a video on Aterian and you need information, I'm more than happy to help. If you want me to narrate it, that's fine. Like, you just give me a script and I'll voice record whatever you need me to, and we can collaborate. But, like, I don't have enough time in the day to do all this stuff. And like, to me, like, I don't have the skill set either at this point right now. I'm still like learning how YouTube works and all that stuff. And trying to like, video edit it. But, like there's probably like a decent amount of, like information out there. Like I saw somebody put together one that was pretty decently done, and it was why, Aterian was going to squeeze. Let's see if I can find it. And it was, an animation. It had a bunch of graphics and like, I thought it was pretty well done. Yeah, it was this one. Someone put it out 3 weeks ago. I don't know if I'll link it here. I don't even care. There. Yeah, but yeah, reach out to me if you guys want. But like, if you take a look at this, like some guy made like a little guy animated, spoke onto it, kind of explains, Aterian, even like explains how the short squeeze works. Like, it was a decent little video. Got 4,000 views on it. That's great. It's all animation and stuff like that. So somebody, put the effort out and put that video out there. Other people can do this stuff. Like yeah, your DD's great on Reddit. Don't give up that. It's awesome. Thank you. I mean, it's probably silly at times because I put all those, GIFs in it, but like, I need something to help break up some of the boring stuff. And to me, it's amusing, It helps kind of tell a story, I think, in some ways. So I've always done it like that. But here's the thing, like I need to figure out a better medium, and obviously I think, if I'm being honest, like this isn't the format that probably is going to get people to actually look at the stock. This is great for people who are already in the stock and understand kind of it's been going through, but at the same time, we need like, a good, simple thing that can, be digestible and only take 5-10 minutes to kind of go over. Yeah. So, I mean, all my information's out there. If you guys want to like go through my old videos, and if there's anything that's relevant, cut it up and edit it, that you have my blessing. Like, if you wanted me to upload it after you're done, that's fine. Or you can even take credit for yourself. If you want to make your own YouTube channel, that's fine too. I don't really care. I just want the information to get out there for people. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, if you have a large position in this, and obviously, like it. Especially if you have options in this, like I'd be going around talking to everybody I can about, the stock and trying to get new faces and new eyeballs on this because, that's what we're lacking right now. Like this had volume, like there was retail volume, there was institutional volume, there was, like a lot going on. Since then, the market's been crashing, and so the market's been paying attention to like pretty much everything else except for us because we're a tiny small cap and we don't have any volume right now. So, but what you'll get with volume is, and I think they were trying to do this here, was they moved the price up without much volume, right? So they were just basically like slapping the ass, getting some people to hopefully buy, probably add the money options. That's what they were looking for, and they try to get everything excited. Well, then we had this entire bleed off day when they were like, now it should be over. But I think retail's still in. Like I don't, if I'm looking at OBV, if I'm looking at money flow, it still hasn't left. Like, let's see. Yeah, I mean, we're still very much in here. Like, we didn't really move that much. We're only down 5%. We went up 11% here, we went up 6% here, and we went down 5% here. Like, on the weekly, if we pull up the weekly, we're doing fine. It's just when you have theta, it sucks. And so this is our weekly candle. It's not even that bad. Like, we pushed up and then we got pushed down. Like, but we're still green and we're still good. And so if you want, everyone's going to have their own opinion on how this goes, but it's just disappointing because we hit that high up there and then got completely pushed down, and then right now it looks like they've just gotten, the whole stock market got hammered this day. Like, we probably would have kept consolidating up into 360s and then probably made a move into the 4s today. That would have been probably the move for today. But instead, because the entire market sold off the worst day in 2 years, we got pushed all the way down here because of algorithmic trading. So, there it is. Yeah, you can reach out to me on the Discord. That's fine, and we can try to plan out some stuff and figure out. All right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we could get over the 200, that'd be clutch. But the 200 right now is pretty far away at this point right now. We throw up. Let's throw up on the daily. Do I have the 200 on here? Yeah, the 200 is the red one right now. That's up there at 5 right now. So we need to get all the way back up to 5 for us to go ahead and cross over the 200 and pull it up for the golden cross. Hopping on my PC right now. Anon, are you staying live for a little bit longer? Yeah, I'll stay a little bit longer. Here's the thing. We don't have as much to say today because there wasn't a whole lot to say. Like, the only reason we're down pretty much was algorithmic trading, and, shorts took advantage of the fact that the entire market was getting rocked. So, yeah, it's going to make me sick. Chris is saying it's going to make me sick to see this whole option change go to waste. Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. Like, it needs new buyers. Like, unless you guys have millions of dollars sitting around that, nobody knew about, unless we start seeing a huge amount of, pressure here, which is going to go ahead and push this up. And there's plenty of room here, right? So if this stock goes over 350, that's a good amount of stuff that has get hedged. And then if it gets over 4, that's another large amount that gets hedged. And like, especially once you get to 5, that's like a magnet drawing, right? But yeah, the market right now is basically water falling down on top of us when we're trying to climb, and it's not forgiving, because that is a very powerful algorithm that's going to be doing this. So, all right, so let's go over any questions anyone has. I mean, obviously, where's the stock going? It's hard to tell. Like, I've never seen a squeeze happen, or I've never been in a squeeze during like one of the largest market sell-offs before. Like, that's new to me. Never seen that before. GameStop was actually, when it ran, the rest of the market was tanking, but it was tanking because of GameStop, actually. Yeah, what's important is keeping Aterian in the public eye. That's why GME and AMC have a massive following. Every time somebody mentions the squeeze for the first time tickers, it comes. Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that you guys are basically the marketing department for them, because they don't do a ton of PR outside of if they're announcing something. So like, it's really up to retail or shareholders or whoever that is interested. You're going to have to be the ones kind of beating the drum for this company, because that's who they are. They don't release a ton of press. They're not like a BBIG where every couple of weeks they say we're going to promise you this or that. Like, Aterians just kind of put your nose down and we'll figure it out. Is this going to be bigger than the 1929 recession, in my opinion? I mean, nowadays these things snap back and forth so hard that it's hard to tell. It looks pretty bad, though. I mean, as far as like, and I think I told some of you guys that have been listening for a while, like SPXU, which is a like 3 times inverse, SPY. That was something I've played and made some money off of, But you want to buy those when, obviously, the IV spikes when the IV spikes and the puts become very cheap. That's when you want to buy. So if the stock, the SPY starts ripping, one of these days, and you think there's still more downside, which is what I do, I think they're going to fill some gaps down at like the 350 levels on the SPY. That's when I'm going to buy back in on some of those SPX ones, or yeah, you're right. SPRTY is one, SQQQ, but that's the inverse of the QQs. There's a whole bunch of them that you can buy. And I'm actually looking at around, I think, June. I'll probably start looking at FAZ, which is FAZ. That one's the inverse of the banks, because I think they've been doing some weird stuff. And when that happens, let's see how they're doing. Yeah, if the banks start tanking, the FAZ starts going up. So right now the entire market's tanking, so everything's up. But I mean, UVXY isn't that. I mean, it's elevated, but it's not that elevated yet. But I expect it to probably move pretty significantly if we do see more. Just to let you guys know, UVXY, the way it works is the M1 and M2 futures of the VIX. So it's not directly correlated to the VIX, for anyone that's wondering. It's the M1 and M2 futures for the VIX. Yeah, FAZ is the bank inverse. Yep, see right here. It's a inverse bear ETF for banks, for financials, as they call them. So okay, so why do shorts pay a cost to borrow fee and their ammo, which is a bunch of money, to bring a stock down to earn when they can spend way less to go long? Well, here's the problem. So if you believe that this is the story, which is these guys want to see this company go to zero. So look at this right here. They were trying to get this stock basically killed down here, right? And what ends up happening is retail FOMOs in. And this is basically, imagine this green and white line is retail. So retail comes in out of nowhere, right, and puts money into the stock right here during the squeeze, right? And then they even go higher on the second squeeze, right? So retail is like just FOMOing in, boom, 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 right? Well, here's the thing. The money never really flows out completely. So you see this long period of time go by while the stock's dropping in price. You see the stock oscillating, dropping in price, but at the same time, the money never flows out. So what you see then here is the second run up we've now had is you have retail traders even further in. So now there's even more money in this stock. So why don't they just go long and make more money, right? Well, here's the thing. If they never closed all their positions out, right, and they really do have some naked shorts on this, and this is a hypothetical, this is not me accusing anyone, but hypothetically, if there were some sort of, naked shorting happening, right, that means that they have a lot more shares that are, that are not being reported on the stock than exist on the books. So what that means is, and be careful how I word this. When I talked to Aterian today, there was something he said that I thought was interesting, which is, and I don't think this would be a problem for me saying what I talked to him about, which was, it's the broker dealers that are the ones that are actually, and these are the people that you and I buy our shares from. They are the ones that often have huge imbalances on their books, and that's something very, very difficult to fix because it's literally the ones that we're buying from that are the ones committing half the crimes. It's not just market makers. It's not just like, it's the people who are literally working with Citadel, working with, I think there was I got a DM and somebody put up, for example, like the TD stuff, right? Was it this guy? Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it was JFin. So look at this. This is TD Ameritrade, right? Pretty common, big broker. Look who. Come on. Look who they route their orders through. Citadel, Virtue, and 2 Sigma. These are like literally like all the bad guys, right? The ones that we always hear about. That's who they do other business with. Look down here. It's the same people over and over and over again. These are options contracts, right? Wolverine, right? Wolverine is a huge hedge fund that also shorts with Citadel. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, these are the guys that they're in bed with. And so, of course, they're not going to do all the right things because it will cost them money. So what they do is they, I have to be very careful what I say. I keep hearing, my friends who are lawyers who keep telling me not to accuse anyone because, that could be a problem for me. But if you look at who does business with all these guys, it's our broker dealers that are basically screwing us over and over and over again. So, yeah, that means you're Robinhood. It means you're TD Ameritrades. It means, Interactive Broker, all these people. Yeah, any payment for order for broker, they are basically sometimes having millions of shares imbalances, which is why we were on the Reg Show for so long, was because all of our broker dealers were the ones that were basically out of compliance. And it happens all the time, apparently. Do you see my options, TD Ameritrade? Yeah. They see all of your stuff. They see your sell orders. They see everything. They see your stop losses. This is how all this works. I mean, this is the truth of it. Like, the whole system is messed up. So, all right, hold on one second. Yeah, so like no one's taking responsibility. The SEC really needs to like do something. But guess what? They're never going to do anything because they're underfunded. They don't have any teeth, and that's the way the market wants them because the market makes like buku bucks by just being able to do whatever they want. And it's, that's a sad truth of it. Yeah, your probability out of the money and the money touch tool is the one you're looking for. Yeah, and you can look at the deltas on them. That's another way of doing it. Ethan asks, "What did you mean? They will probably fill some gaps around 350 on the SPY." I traded SPY for a while. What do you mean? All right, so gaps typically fill at some point. Not every gap's ever gonna. There's gonna be gaps that were long, long ago, but gaps tend to fill. In fact, we just had a gap here at like $4, and we hit that. We gapped down here on this day. That gap got filled right here. So gaps fill typically. It happens all the time. Now, SPY, when they were going through the election run-ups, and I can even eyeball it just seeing right here. This was the election run-up, right? It gapped up like 7 straight days in a row. It was weird. It was like this day just gapped up like one of these ones. I can't remember where it was, but it was back near. Everybody was really bearish going down into here, and then the week of the elections, it got like just the SPY just went crazy and just ran, and each day it would gap up and gap up and gap up and gap up, and like the gaps never filled. And they were all around the like 330s, 340s, 350s level. So, yeah. So that's what I mean. At some point, these gaps down here, and like that happened back in October and February, or October and November, those are going to fill probably at some point. So that would be my guess. At some point in the next year, you will see us fill these gaps down here at the 350 levels on the S&P 500. And being that we're at 391 right now, that's not that far away. So that's what I mean by that. All right. The SEC can find wrongdoings. It takes just way too long for them to complete an investigation from beginning to end. I've worked with a company that was investigated many years ago. It takes years. Yeah, and that's the problem. Is like they're basically retroactive, or I guess is that the term? They're not retroactive. They are reactive, not proactive. So like a police officer seeing a crime would stop the crime or attempt to. The SEC basically is like a crime gets committed and then they go in like a forensic team afterwards and then assign fines out. Like that's how the SEC works. They don't actually stop any crime. That would really actually be the DOJ that should be doing that. So, but here's the thing: like, there's tons of financial crimes that happen every single day, and yeah, they don't get stopped every day, and that's the sad truth of everything. But yeah, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess that's a good idea. Fund size, or F fund size. He said he's going to go ahead and talk to some people, get some important questions written down, and then during the live stream, ask those questions, and that way we can make a video out of it. So I think that's a good idea. Keith said that might be a private conversation. I'll look at that, though. All right, so most of these were private conversations. Sorry, they're talking about just my conversation with Aterian today. and I'll probably have another one at some point coming up. But one of the things I talked to them about was what other opportunities are you guys looking at for like revenue streams and becoming profitable, stuff like that. So yeah, and I do think that if you start looking at the details of the stock, like right now, the FTDs and the reg show and all that stuff got reset mainly because of the shares that hit the market. And those are the ones from the private placement and by institutions owning these new shares. They're then basically like, because they're new to them, they're being lent out again and they're being able to reset some FTDs with it. But, it's just going to be a matter of time before they're back on it. So everyone's saying SEC financial regulation violations. Yeah. DOJ is like financial crimes. So I was unable to message Anon. Why not? Spooner. It said he only allows it for friends. Just add me as a friend then. Yeah, I mean, anyone can add me as a friend. I'll just approve it. I don't really deny many people for... Anyway. Pending. Here we go. All right, you see me waving to you? There you go. Okay, there you go. So now we're friends. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think everyone should watch Anton's video on how the markets work with every retail. Like, it's very, very enlightening. I can tell you that. I did look at his stuff, but he's basically looking to train like traders. That's what he's looking for. So, and it's like Barney. He's everyone's friend. Yep, I'm friends with all you guys, all you people on YouTube and Discord. At some point, we're all gonna get together and have some drinks, or if you don't drink, you can just hang out. But obviously, we want this to be on good terms, and after we've made tons of money. So we'll see how things go tomorrow and the next day. It's funny because if you're playing just commons on this stock, I have some options right now, and so if you see this, you see basically we had a nice bounce. We had basically a nothing day, and then we went 11% this day, and we went up another, I think it was like 6% this day. We're only down basically 5% right now on this day, but because of the theta decay, anyone that's playing options is all bummed out. So like in the grand scheme of things, like the market's not going to go down forever. Like at some point there'll be days that it bounces back and we'll be able to head up. And the lower the prices right now, the more shares that people can afford to buy long and hold. And so, I think I told you guys, like September is a long ways away when it comes to if the price is still hanging out down here. Like, I mean, I showed you guys. This is September 6th, right here. That's a long ways away. And the more days that go by that the stock's hanging down here in this accumulation zone, the more shares that retail can buy and hold. I mean, yep. All right, good night, Anna. I just moved, so I'm going to go set my PC right now. Yeah, absolutely. I'll be around. So why is naked shorting such a hard thing to investigate? Everyone knows they're doing it. It's not like it's not like there isn't witness. Chris, have you watched the HBO special Gaming Wall Street? I'll wait till you answer. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's like a well-known secret on Wall, or not even a secret. It's a well-known like thing on Wall Street that these guys never locate short shares when they short. Like, as long as they're making money, they don't ever. It's frustrating. It is, because it's like, so everyone knows that they're cheating. It's like the worst kept secret in the world, that like the U.S. stock market is just this dumpster fire of a mess, and that it's basically like the Wild Wild West. And they can cheat whenever they want to, and nothing ever happens. Like, down the line, they might get caught, and then they have to pay some fines. But like, yeah, everyone knows it's going on. That's like in the know. Like, retail knows it's going on. Like, but the SEC has to be able to prove it. And I think that's the problem. It's like, somebody can watch you murder someone. You still have to go on a trial. And as long as you don't plead guilty, you have to prove the other side did it. And that's part of like, how our system works, is because like everyone's given the benefit of the doubt, and then it makes it harder for us, even though everyone knows it happened. You now have to prove it. Will Melvin shutting down affect shorts? No, they won't, because they basically already they were like a shell of a company anyway. It will affect those shareholders or not shareholder, but like those people that had their money in that hedge fund. They could not get those people to forgive Melvin of their prior sins, and Melvin will shut down and start up under a new, management. Gabe will probably be like a silent partner at some point and advise. That's how I see it probably going. Can you check out? I actually canceled my Ortex. I was on it and I was like, these guys can't even like keep the holdings right. So Bill Huang's he had a couple things that was going on with him, and he's turned around and sued some of the brokerages. So they were doing block deals, and if you guys don't know what block deals are, essentially what they are is when they were trying to close out a large short position, they need to. I do a FinTel. I'll get to you some information in a second, but with Bill Huang, apparently he was trying to go find somebody to take his like short position over, or like close it out basically. And so they needed to find some investors. So he went to a couple different firms, and they went around, quote unquote, shopping his order to try to find enough investors that would take on his position. So it turns out, though, that because these guys were like real loose-lipped about it, and they were walking around telling people it's being under investigation about some of these other brokerages. Like, did he get squeezed because basically they knew his position, and then they leaked it to their buddies who squeezed him? Like, interesting, right? Josh, September 6th may be a long ways away, but are you optimistic that retail will hold that long, especially if Aterian only bleeds between now and then? I mean, honestly, if Aterian's down at like $2 a share and like the float's pretty small still, say the float's 26, 27 million, retail could lock up that really quickly. Now, granted, yeah, you're right. Retail's attention span is short. But, I've watched Aterian go from a sub of 2,000 people to 14,000 now in under a year. And so as more and more people either buy in long or get stuck inadvertently and are just holding, this gets even worse for them, because the longer this goes on, the worse it can get. Because if they keep just pushing the price down and retail just keeps buying up the shares, even if this goes on for, a while, kind of like what happened with GameStop, it can eventually become one of those things where it's going to pop off every once in a while. It's going to end up on Reg Show multiple times. And, every time they push it down, if, retail understands what's going on, I think it's getting harder to shake people out, especially as we've had a track record now of running up multiple times, no matter what happens in. Yeah, Josh, I was going to say, that's totally fine. You can, I don't mind answering hard questions here. Like, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Yeah, it's hard, and, there are people that have already sold. Like, there are people that sold in this area. They sold here during this rundown. But at this point right now, you're looking at people who are either stuck or they are, just in the long run at this point. And what I can tell you is, if the stock remains in this loading zone and, people understand and learn about Aterian, it won't take that many more retailers to come in and buy up shares down at these levels, thinking that there's more upside than downside. Because we've seen the downside. 210 right here was our 52-week low. Anything lower than that, you're really pushing it for fundamentals, why it would be down that low without liquidating. And if, right now Aterian has $44 million in cash, there's no reason why it would go down to those liquidation levels. So at this point right now, I would imagine it would probably chop around. It may run up and down a couple more times. It depends on where you think we are on the Wyckoff accumulation as well. For anyone that doesn't know, I think I have some pictures we can probably bring up here. Let me pull it over real quick. I want the star here. Give me this. All right. So if I go under downloads, I pull up here. So look at this. Hopefully you can see this. Okay. All right, so good. You guys can see that. So it depends on where we think we are right now. And I think we're going off of accumulation schematic 2. Accumulation just means that people are buying these shares, but they don't want it to run yet because they want to get as much in the position as they can. And if you actually read how Wyckoff described it, he basically said that there's this basically like this event where the stock's just plummeting, right? And it's shaking out all these, he calls them weak hands. We call them paper hands in our modern day society, but he calls them weak hands and basically dumb money. And then what happens is when they get down to these levels, they have an auto rally and then they have a spring test. That's what the ST is. And then at this point, you have a run up to the resistance lines, and then you have this, like what's called the final, basically spring test. And then from there, it will start moving up in waves, So let's take a look at where we are. We had maybe I can put it up next to it. So are we having a falling thing down here, hitting a spring, and then going up? Yes. Is it going to go back down to a spring test? Yes. Now, do we have a nice big rally up here? Maybe it's this one, right? Two waves. And then maybe does it go back down, right? So it depends on where you think we are. So say this is May, right? So we're here in May. It's chopping around here for a while. Then we go up a little bit, and then we go down into this like loading area, basically. And then what ends up happening is when you hit phase D, which could be basically like maybe June, July, you go up here, and then you kind of make that final run before you actually catapult back up. So it all depends on where you think we are on that. Could we be closer to phase D than we think? Maybe. I mean, that's a possibility. But Wyckoff was a smart guy in that, Yeah, I mean, comparing it though to where we are right now, I mean, it makes sense. Where if we hit down here for the spring test, come up, we retrace back down, we start consolidating in this area. If that brings us into June, July, if there is something else there, that could be the next thing. What's up? So, where do I think we are? I mean, so let's view this out, right? So we've been coming down here, right? Coming down, hit a spring. That would be probably the one right here in phase B. So I think we're still in phase B. We're going to enter in phase C probably in this time frame, and then I think right before we would run up sometime in this area right here in August. That's where I would see it. So All In Clove said he's bought $52 calls that I'll exercise tomorrow. So exercising them doesn't quite work the way that you probably think it does. If you exercise them, they don't instantaneously give you those shares. They have T+2 to deliver those shares to you. So if you exercise them on Thursday, they wouldn't be owed until probably like Monday. So you actually probably be better off. This is not financial advice, but I'm just saying if you were trying to apply pressure to the market maker, you would probably be better off holding them into expiry and then holding, or at least the end of the day on Friday. That way, the market maker can't de-hedge those. Just throwing that out there, All In Clove. Because if you basically exercise all those things, they will just become a T+2. It would be nice if they actually just, for example, did. Yeah, I mean, once again, it would be awesome if these guys had to instantaneously deliver shares in real time. The problem is they don't, and that's why they can mess around. They can eat FTDs. They can choose when they cover, when they don't cover. They get all these different tools that they can use to basically manipulate the market. So that's why I kept saying the price doesn't matter at times, because it doesn't in some cases. Like, yeah, it's where you can buy and sell, but if you're long on something and you're not planning on selling, like, I would rather buy shares when they're down here than when it's already running. All right. You wanted to know about high tide. Okay. So short interest is 300,000 shares. It's not very shorted. I mean, they've got a ton of shares that they can short. Low cost to borrow. There's basically no, not a ton of short volume. They did have this day, they shorted a decent amount, but they're not even really, they don't really have any FTDs. Yeah, why do you want to? It's the Amazon of weed. It's the future. I mean, it's not a squeeze play. I can tell you that. Is there any? Let's see what the warrant situation is like. And that's a bold claim. Yeah, I mean it's a very small company. It engages in retail cannabis in Europe, Asia, United States. The company designs, manufactures, distributes smoking accessories and cannabis lifestyle products. Um, I mean, it's only got 8% institutional ownership, so it's really mainly owned by retail at this point. Yeah, I don't see a ton of information there unless. Are they profitable? Yeah. Where's their balance sheet? Yeah, I mean it's a small company, so yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see any reason there. Yeah, I don't see any specific reasons. I mean that's a very small company, and you know, yeah, they're not. I don't think they're profitable either. Based on what I'm seeing, they've got revenue growth, but so does Aterian. But like they're negative 25 million net income. Cash flow negative. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to invest in it, go for it. I mean, my local weak guy wants me to buy private equity. Short squeeze, gamma squeeze still on. I mean, it would be probably lower at this point. If we're being realistic, I think we could see a move to fours and fives. But at this point, it's going to be if a ton of different people start coming in, and we don't have great volume right now. We need some volume. We need new eyes. We need new money investing in it. We need a reason why retail should chase. And at this point, we don't have that because the entire market's bleeding off, and it's affecting our ability to push. Because every single time we start making a move up, it seems like the entire market just craps all over itself, and then it's pushing us down at the exact same moments. I mean, I think I showed you guys those pictures. Like when the SPY was just dumping, we were dumping as well. Like, is that up still? Yeah, here we go. So, I mean, look at us. Look at them. Like when the SPY was just tanking, they were just tanking us. Like we had built momentum, it was coming back up into the 360s, and boom, we just get nailed down. Like, we bleed, we go up, we bleed, we go up, we kind of bleed off. We have this trickle down, trickle down. I mean, we're literally like following it like to the T. Yeah, we finally had that nice little rally there, boom, and then. All right. But there are 12 million shares short still. They're obviously trapped. Why doesn't the company do a share buyback to push up the stock? So the company right now is balancing a very, very tight rope, which is they have 44 million in cash, but they need that 44 million in cash so they don't have to dilute any further. Because that's like the enemy. We don't want dilution if we can help it, right? But at the same time, they do need to be able to raise more cash in the future. With some of the warrants at 15 and 25, they need the shorts to have some pressure on them, which, but doing a share buyback would actually do. But they really need the cash more so, just to keep, the lights on and, not have to worry about diluting down in the future. So it's like it's a catch-22. Like you can go one way or the other, but it's higher risk. So buyback then dilute. It wouldn't be the craziest thing. The market's been dumping since November. Let's see. Let's take a look. When do we enter the downtrend? That's SP, not SPY. All right, so we started this basically starting here, and it's really been since technically January where we hit that peak, and then it's been kind of downhill since then because we were here, we made an up channel, then we're back down in this down channel now. So it hasn't really been dumping technically since November. We did have a run up in January, not in November. We did dump down in November, but then we rallied back up in November and then into the new year, and then we've been dumping basically since then. But we did have a strong rally back in, what was that, March? So when was the last gamma squeeze for any other company? I mean, SST had a decent one pretty recently. That was a gamma slash, but they had a decent low squeeze there. Who else had a decent one? Redbox went from 1 to 1 to 12 or no 11, right? 11 something where the warrants were. Who else has had good ones? That was Spurt. They had a nice one that ran from basically the teens up until 60. That was last year. Aterian had one that was up here that ran from 3 to basically 20, and then back up from 9 to 17 or 16. I see. Couldn't the company create a buyback and then delay it until the cash is there? No, that's not how that works. So you have to follow the SEC rules. So when they do these, shelves, and they have some rules that they have to go ahead and follow. Yeah, and honestly, Redbox was always going to be a pump and dump because they needed to get those warrants out up at the cash out up at those $11 warrants. So that's actually pretty normal for small caps to do that sometimes, because their underwriters are allowed to pump the stock basically legally. Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. It's not over yet. We're still hanging in here at the 350 level. And, there's still a decent amount of open interest at the 350 level. Look, there's still a good amount of stuff here, right? We're just slightly here, right? So if we can push back up over here, and the market's not just completely falling apart on us tomorrow and into Friday, we are looking at, the ability to at least get into this range. They're going to do everything in their power not to let it finish over this, because that's a lot of shares they would owe. But I mean, I'm telling you, if these things down here get stacked up, and I highlighted it the other day. Obviously, not a lot of people listen to me on these ones, but somebody at least was buying some of these, and so the more of these that go in the money, and are looking like they're going to be safe in the money, that will cause some buying pressure. Because they're not even buying that many puts right now. It's just the market was just dumping. So, let's hope there's some buying pressure tomorrow. People slapping the ass and getting in there. Yeah, so if a company buys back shares, that's fine. Right? So what they would do is they would say, okay, we're going to take these shares off the market, right? So it would reduce the float, but it costs money to do that. So you would have to spend a couple $1 million to do that. Now the problem is they have $44 million in cash, right? If they go and took out a loan, that's the same thing as adding more debt, which doesn't make sense either. So you can't delay. If you're doing this through a filing, you can't delay it until cash is there. What price would be your favorite to close on Friday? Honestly, anything over 5 would be amazing, because that would mean probably about 3 to 4 million shares might be due by the time Friday comes around. I don't know if it's going to be that high. Maybe it's just 2, but even 2 million shares on a float that's as small as ours would be crazy. So all right. Besides that, though, it's 11. This is what usually when I cut off things. If you guys are able to, please slap the like. Just like the ask, if you can hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, if you want to subscribe. I try to do these every single night, just answer questions whenever people have them. And then I always link the Discord. If you're not part of our Discord, it's free. There's a lot of smart people I think are smarter than me in there. I'm just kind of like a talking head. There's the link to the Discord. If we did push up over 5, what would that push to realistically? If we'd have to get it moving though. It would have to hit 5 tomorrow, and then it could. If it hit 5 tomorrow, then it could run to 750 on Friday. But it would have to run tomorrow, because if it just got over 5 at the end of the day on Friday, then it wouldn't run any higher because there's not enough time. So there's the Discord. I always link the Patreon as well. Obviously, I work a full-time job, so I'm not able to spend all my day, which would be nice, to research stocks and help people out. I think all I need is this part. There. So I will go ahead and I'm really gonna I keep saying this each night, but I hopefully we'll see some updated information, and we'll kind of go and be able to get the final bits of what the float looks like, explain everything out tomorrow. That's my goal, is because I think it's an important day to get all the information out before Friday. So I'm going to work on that as best as I can tomorrow, and hopefully I won't get pulled away for work. But work is definitely cramping my style on being able to write good, meaningful DD. But it is what it is. When the summer comes, I have to be out in the field more, and I'm not able to just sit behind a computer all day doing all these things. So Thanks, Anon. I'm learning things. Thanks, John, for hanging out. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me. Smaller crowd tonight. Obviously, I think people are bummed out from, the day because everybody's stocks are bleeding. So I know it's tough, but try not to trade emotionally. Try to look at how things look in the long run, and eventually things go up, things go down, and what you'll see is that was a long period of bleeding. We got an uptick. Now we're going to consolidate, and we'll probably move up at some point again. So, Aterian in the long run will be okay. But in the short term, I could see us maybe making a move tomorrow as long as the market's not doing what it did today. If we had a nice bounce tomorrow, I could see us getting back in this uptrend and kind of continuing along, because I think we're still technically in the uptrend. We may have fallen slightly out of it, and then we'd be able to get back in it. So, came for the squeeze, stayed for the value. Thanks for your DD. Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, Augustus. Is it Augustus? All right. He's going to slap that ass tomorrow. Thanks for your time. Thanks for taking your family time to do this. Yeah, no problem, Hedge. All right, guys. Have a great evening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.